One Russian empress built a palace out of ice and forced a wedding inside. Empress Anna of Russia was not a nice lady. In 1740, she decided to punish a noble by forcing him to marry one of her servants. The wedding took place in a palace built entirely of ice on the frozen Neva River. It was an extravagant affair with nobles from all over Russia invited to attend. The bride and groom were dressed in furs made of straw and paraded on an elephant. After the ceremony, they were locked in the ice palace as guests partied outside. They had to stay there all night, and no one was allowed to enter the next morning. When the ice palace was opened, the bride and groom stumbled out, shivering and exhausted. But the cruelest part of the story is that it was all a joke to Empress Anna. She had set the entire thing up just to humiliate the couple. But how did they survive? Well, the bride and groom were lucky that night. The temperature didn't drop below freezing, so they didn't freeze to death. However, they were still forced to sleep on a bed of straw, and the groom had to pee on the ice walls to keep them from melting. When they finally emerged from the palace the next morning, they were met with a crowd of jeering nobles. Some people even threw snow at them. It was clear that the empress had enjoyed humiliating them, and there was nothing they could do about it. Empress Anna died in 1740, but her legacy lived on. The story of her ice palace became a popular folk tale in Russia, and many versions of it have been published over the years. Some stories say that the ice palace wasn't actually an ice palace at all, but rather a log cabin that had been covered in ice. Others claim that the bride and groom were nobles themselves, and that the whole thing was just a misunderstanding. But no matter what version you hear, they all agree on one thing: Empress Anna was a cruel and unusual woman who enjoyed nothing more than humiliating those beneath her. Power often hides cruelty behind spectacle. That was 1 minute. See you tomorrow.